Hi, Grandma here, and I'm reading Dave at Night, chapter 24. The previous chapter, Dave is at Irma Lee's party, and he and Irma Lee had been busy playing various games, and Irma Lee's aunt came in and told him it was time to eat. They needed to go down to the dining room. Chapter 24. The dining room was crowded and noisy, but not as bad as the hall. I could hear the pianist and the harpist playing 2 rooms away. I didn't know what a lot of food was. I'd never seen an oyster before, or a snail, or the tiny slippery things Irma Lee said were fish eggs. I'd gladly have shared any of them with Mo. They were slimy. But I liked the foie gras, which tasted like chopped liver. That's what it is. And I liked the roast beef and the turkey and the stuffing and the leg of lamb and the creamed potatoes and the sweet as sugar baked carrots. I even liked the strange salad. Banana slices and popcorn mixed together on a big leaf lettuce with dabs of goo on top that Irma Lee said was mayonnaise. Some people in the corner called to Irma Lee to join them. She made a face, but she went. I didn't mind. I wanted to concentrate on eating. After I finished big helping of everything, I went back for more. Solly had said nobody would care. He said they'd throw the leftovers away, but I didn't believe him. As I ate, I walked over to the painting that hung over the sideboard. I swallowed hard and stared. Now, I'm going to read you the description of it, and when I'm done, I'm going to first ask why you think he was so interested in it. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a picture of the painting. I want to see if that's what you saw in your head. Okay. The painting was of Noah's Ark, but a completely different version from Papa's. In this version, the storm had already begun. Looking at it, you knew you were watching an emergency. There were lightning flashes, even though a hazy sun still shone. From the deck of the ark, a Negro, Noah, raised his arm and gave orders. The 2 animals climbing into the ark were marching in double time. The only colors were pale purples and pale greens, and the drawing was simple, but there was nothing wrong with that. The painting felt powerful. I ate slowly, following the direction of the shapes with my eyes and trying to figure out how the artist had done everything. Okay, why do you think his eyes went to this painting? Because it reminded him of the carving that his father had made. Also, I think Noah's Ark is a particularly favorite theme among Jewish children especially. I know my next door neighbor had their baby's nursery with paintings of Noah's Ark, but then they had twins, so I figured that it was the 2x2 also. Anyway, now I'm going to show you a picture of the painting because it is a pretty famous painting, and see if this is anything like you had thought it would look like. There's Negro Noah at the top, and you see the animals approaching 2x2, and there's lightning, and it's in purples and pale greens. Did a pretty good description of that. The signature was A. Douglas, Aaron Douglas. Mrs. Packer had said he might be here tonight. I turned around looking for Irma Lee. If Mr. Douglas was here, I wanted to ask him why he used such pale colors. But she wasn't in the room anywhere, and neither was Mrs. Packer and the people that had been talking to. So, the other reason that this would be important to Dave is because he is a budding artist himself. And that's why he wishes Aaron Douglas were in the room so he could talk to him about why he chose the colors that he chose. I have a few other pictures of Noah's Ark, if I can get to it. No, that's not the right place. And the style that he has is the style that he uses in many of his paintings. And this was a very popular style in the 1920s and 1930s. I am particularly fond of this style of painting, especially with the travel posters that were made. I just find it fascinating that they can create such depth and such detail when it really is more silhouettes. Anyway, going on. I used to be the picture lady at my daughter's elementary school, which I used to take art in and talk to them about art. I think I'm still the picture lady. I put my plate down on the buffet table, meaning to look for Irma Lee, but then I thought this was a good time to stock up on food for my buddies. It wasn't stealing, not if they were going to throw the leftovers away. Well, maybe it was, but it was gone of stealing, not big crook stealing. If only I had more pockets. There were none in my jacket or my shirt, and the two in my knickers wouldn't hold much. I unbuttoned 2 buttons of my shirt near the waistband of my knickers. You could hardly tell my shirt was open because of the folded drawing, which was white too. I took a roll and glanced around. Nobody was watching. Throughout the doorway, I saw Sally 2 rooms away looking at the books. I slipped the roll inside my shirt and pushed it toward the back where the jacket would cover the bulge. But 1 roll would be a crumb for each of the 11s. What else could I take? There was a plate with chunks of carrot and celery on it. It wouldn't be their favorite food, but it wouldn't squish. I took a handful. The vegetables would fit in my pockets. It's so unusual to see a child who likes his vegetables. I turned. A light-skinned colored lady with gray hair smiled at me. I bit into a carrot and smiled back. Yes. The music in the next room stopped just then, and my voice was too loud. I lowered and added, delicious and good for me too. I love carrots too. She took one and chomped on it. Who's your daddy, son? Abraham Karros, but I'm here with my grandpa, Sally Gruber. Oh, he must be proud of you. For eating vegetables? I guess he is. We stood there smiling at each other. Then she gave a little laugh. Well, excuse me, I have to find my husband. She took another carrot and headed into the crowd. I stuffed the vegetables into my pockets. Then I saw a platter of fruit and a bowl of nuts on the sideboard with the cakes and pies and cookies. I grabbed an apple and looked around. Nobody was paying attention. I shoved it into the back of my shirt. That man across the table, was he watching me? His head was tilted, listening to another man, but his eyes were on me. I smiled at him and waved, but his expression didn't change. I stuck my fingers in the corners of my mouth, pulled back, and stuck my tongue out. His expression didn't change. He wasn't really seeing me. I took another apple and then another. They settled around my waist. It was a good thing my shirt was too big. I looked around again, took a handful of nuts and added them to my collection. Above the sideboard was a mirror. I turned sideways and looked to see if the fruit and vegetables made my jacket stick out. They didn't. Enough. I buttoned my shirt and cut myself a slice of chocolate cake. Irma Lee came back in with a tall Negro and a man. I walked toward them, carrying my plate and eating. The food in my shirt jiggled. Is Mr. Doug? At that exact same moment, she said, can you? We laughed, and the man said, let the boy talk, Irma Lee. So I asked if Aaron Douglas was at the party, and she said he hadn't come. Then she said, can you Charleston, Dave Karros? I'll dance with you, the man said. Oh, you're too big, Mr. Johnson. I want to dance with Dave. I'm too old, you mean? Oh, there's no mute. At that time, the piano in the next room started playing again. But it wasn't light and tinkly anymore. It was like the music at the rent party, what Sally called jazz. A drum joined the piano. Irma Lee grabbed my hand and tugged me toward the music. I don't know how to dance. And I couldn't dance with fruit and nuts in my shirt. A trumpet started singing. It zigged and zagged above the piano and the drums. Come on! The room with the musicians was mobbed and everyone was dancing. It's the Charleston! Irma Lee shouted and started doing it too, arms and legs flying, grinning and laughing. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. Irma Lee stopped dancing and stopped grinning. I couldn't spoil things for her. I put my left hand behind my back to hold the food, threw my right arm around wildly, and started jumping up and down. It made Irma Lee dance, and she started, it made Irma Lee laugh, and she started going again. The apples kept bumping into my back, and the roll was probably squashed, and the nuts were scratchy, but they all stayed where they were supposed to. The music got inside me. It felt like my bones were humming and bouncing along. I tried to imitate Irma Lee. She pointed her right toe and both her arms to the right. Her right arm went way up in the air. Then she brought her foot in. Her arms went the other way, but not as far. Then she stuck her left foot out behind her, arched her back, and sent her arms way off to the right again. And she did it all while jumping and skipping. I couldn't do it. Sure, I could point my toe and hop and bring my hand free, but I couldn't do them all at once in time to the music. Never mind, I just go on making it up. I kicked up my feet. Irma Lee laughed harder. I swung my arms around and round like a propeller and kicked my feet out behind me like I was trying to keep them from falling. It seemed right with what the drums were doing. I kicked my feet out side to side and waved my arms over my head, and the man next to me crashed into me, and I went down, and my shirt came out of my knickers, and the vegetables came out of my pockets. The apples rolled around on the floor, and people started slipping on nuts and carrots and celery, and the song ended, and the music stopped. I'll tell you, that Dave, he can get himself into some difficult situations. How do you think he's going to get out of this one? Well, we'll find out in the next chapter. Bye-bye.